Peace, peace.
I hope everybody's having a good day today. Peace, peace. It's Sunday. I hope it's nicer for some people. I mean, it's been just raining this whole weekend, but I hope you guys had a really good holiday weekend. A happy 4th, that you were able to spend some time with your family, your friends, and really enjoy everything that these festivities bring, especially being off work. I hope the kids enjoyed the fireworks and everything. My birthday was really great. I got to see my family, so there's nothing to complain about. So I just wanted to come not too long today. It's going to be short. Hopefully, we discuss more, and I have some plans that's coming in the future that y'all want to check out. And as well, I definitely want to announce that my brother OTK is going to be on Sonetta's channel today. I think it's 4 Central, so that would make it 5 Eastern time. So you guys, you definitely don't want to miss that. He's going to go into his part 2 of discussion. But today I just wanted to talk about some things that were happening as far as the Stone Mountain trip, where we saw the meeting of the masters. You have Bro Rich's trip with legendary Big Chief Top Cats, as well as Billy Carson, Vicky Dillard, B Dell. And there were some opinions about, is it a Boule meeting? Are they connected to the ancestors? Can you have this spiritual meeting on Stone Mountain with these masses? And let's talk about that. Let's see if this is something that is fake, disconnected from the ancestors, or is there spiritual happenings amongst this meeting of the masters. So I'm going to play a little bit of what Sanchez was saying as far as about the gathering.
Everybody. And we will put you on timeout coming in my chat room telling me what to do or thinking you assuming you know something about me or what I'm talking about. I've been following the gathering of the masters for 10 years. All right. I remember the one that they did with Phil Valentine and Khalid Muhammad. Some of y'all weren't even online then. So get the hell out. Anybody in my chat room, bro, talking about I'm clout chasing, get them up out of here. I've been in this community over a decade. Bobby Hemmett was at the gathering of the masses in 2000. Him, Phil Valentine, Khalid Muhammad, it was a classic one. Bobby Hemmett's student gave me the stamp of approval. His name was Brother Panic. Y'all gonna have to learn to put some respect on my name, right? So watch this, right? I'm finna teach you something, utopia. We didn't have a concept of owning land, owning people. We wasn't there yet. That was a fall in our spirituality. Black people ain't never had a concept of master. What's the opposite of a master? A slave. For you to have masters, you have to have slaves. The gathering of the masters isn't nothing that connects you with your ancestors. And everybody out there is disconnected with the ancients. Everybody out there under that Vicky Dillard, blue pill, red pill, King Simon, Billy Carson energy. I just want you to know that you're redirecting your energy towards pseudo land. You are redirecting your energy toward a realism agenda, a new age agenda. The energy that you get from the pills, from all of these people like King Simon, it is a chocolate coated form of Christianity. I'm gonna give you a taste of what you would have got at one of these gatherings. I'm not gonna play everything, but this is Vicky Dillard with her red and black satanic colors on, and here she come casting her spells. Watch this. Let me break this down for y'all. You may think this is some energy you want to be around, but it ain't. This is a cult of people who have fattened their pockets by teaching our people bull crap that's keeping us at a low level. They are gate guards. It's literally a gathering of the gate guards, but they want to call themselves masters. Yeah, grand masters. We talking masons. This is Masonic terminology. It should be a gathering of the masses, but it ain't nothing for the people. This is something that is orchestrated by Brother Rich and it's all for profit. What do I mean by that? Everybody that's there are part of, are interconnected or networked some kind of way with getting money together. And just like rich men get together and have cookouts, they do it too. You may think, well, this is a bunch of black people honoring their ancestors. When all of these people stand for something that the European told them to tell their people. All of these people like Billy Carson, don't you know he's connected with Steve Greer? He's connected with a bunch of white people whose job is to keep us at a certain vibration on a spiritual level. Brother Rich have been in this community for years. And you think he's elevated his shit? No, they saying the same alien Anunnaki washed up stuff they've been saying for 10 years, stroking black people ego, doing no different than what the church doing. Patting themselves and priding themselves, and they full of pride, but guess what? They are not connected with the ancestors, people. They're not connected with the ancestors. They haven't paid the price that you got to pay to be connected with your ancestors, because the moment you start being a voice for the ancients and get connected with them, this world gonna crucify you like it did Jesus. It ain't gonna roll out a red carpet for you like it's doing the masters. It ain't gonna do that for you like it's doing these masters right here, because all of them part of a tightly knitted network that's looking out for each other as black people to get their pockets rich. And you may say that's a good thing, but think about it. That's a bad thing if they telling black people about aliens, Anunnaki, a bunch of dumb stuff that ain't gonna move us forward, man. They ain't teaching us about electromagnetism, the Tesla knowledge, 369, the stuff that will get our people back to thinking like masters versus just saying we masters when we're teaching the enemy's message to our people. How are you a master? Your ancestors were masters, but you didn't connect with them. You connected with the Greeks. If you ask any of these black people about the universe, they gonna start quoting Newton, Galileo, and all that, but they saying honor your ancestors. But these are the same white people that desecrated our ancestors. All of the knowledge that they stand on come from either pseudo white folks or the regular physicists that you see out there that's pushing like the out of Africa theory, ancient aliens. They ain't doing that but chocolate coating the new age shit by saying, well, the black people are the aliens. For all of the black people that's saying, I can't get jiggy with this alien stuff, then their job is to tell you, well, the black people are the aliens and now you'll get jiggy with it. Just like all the black people that's saying, I don't believe in Jesus, that's a bunch of belief in mythology. Their job is to come out there and tell you Jesus was a black man. And it's a whole nother chocolate coated sector of the Christian church that they call the conscious community. That's giving y'all the same thing that the church giving y'all, but putting it in a chocolate, but they chocolate coating it.
Now, I do want to say something before we get further into the video of what he's saying right now about the pseudoisms that are a part of this community, that a lot of people tend to gravitate towards those pseudo narratives, whether it be the Anunnaki, the Elohim, like he said, Jesus being a black man and keeping us into these thought patterns of what our religion was, spirituality was based on, you know, this bring it into a melanated force and then all these people will gravitate that to that spiritually. Now, I don't agree with the pseudoisms, obviously. I don't believe in the aliens or anything, but I definitely see that the masses of our people definitely connect in when you do have those talking points of we are aliens or what's out in space or Jesus or anything like that as far as it. So I really want to go into, when people do have these pseudoisms that they believe in, can they still be connected to the ancestors spiritually? Can they still feel the real essence of what the metaphysics are pulling and the gravitational pulls, even though it's based in pseudoisms? And I believe that they can. It's just the fact that definitely there's parts of this pseudoism that has kept our people down, the thou shall turn the other cheek as far as it, where we're more docile than fighting back. Of course, there's a lot of problems that come in when we have these teachers that are teaching these pseudo knowledge or that get people connected to these things that don't matter. But when it comes to spirituality and our ancestors, I believe that they're stronger than that. I believe that once you're starting to get these downloads that are coming down, sometimes the downloads in itself can wake you up to the pseudoisms that, you know, the teachers are teaching. But we're going to go further into that later. Let's go ahead and continue.
They giving y'all superhero fairy tales about supernatural humans. It's not you with the power. Now, the only way we're going to get our power is to connect with our ancestors. I got news for y'all. Our ancestors ain't at Stone Mountain, Georgia. Let's do some research. Let's do some research real quick, right? Quick chat GPT. You ain't got to do nothing but ask it 2 questions. I did it for you. Why is Stone Mountain? She got it. Yeah, yeah. Why is Stone Mountain such an important place for this group of black people? I'm from the South, and we don't care nothing about Stone Mountain. That's where the hood at. But don't nobody go there to honor no ancestors. You know why? Let me read to you something real quick. Stone Mountain holds a complex and deeply emotionally significance for Black Americans, primarily because of its historical connections to what? White supremacy, not to your ancestors. Going to Stone Mountain don't connect you to dead Black people who you're trying to honor. It connects you to the masters. Who? The slave masters. Watch this. The Ku Klux Klan and the Confederacy. Not because it has been a symbol of Black pride or empowerment. See, even Chat GPT know the truth. Chat GPT know that Stone Mountain is not a place that got the energy of Black pride, Black empowerment, honoring your ancestors. Here's why Stone Mountain is historically important in relation to Black history. Number one, Stone Mountain is the site where the modern KKK was born in 1915. Did you hear that? Why the hell would a bunch of Black people want to go to the mountain where the KKK was born? Who are you honoring? The masters or the slaves? See, y'all thought I was coming in here to lie on these people. It's going over your head. Billy Carson is connected with all of the white people that are involved in scientific racism against Black folks. He cool with them. Brother Rich will only allow niggas on his channel that's giving you a bunch of pseudoscience and ancient aliens type crap. He's not gonna let you on that channel if he don't like you and shit like that, because his platform ain't for the people. It's for him and his buddies to get rich. He don't care nothing about no truth. And they rubbing it right in your face, because how many other Black groups that y'all know meet up at Stone Mountain? All of the doggone Boule, the COINTELPRO groups meet up there, and they gather, they call themselves the masters, and they show up there to honor the masters of old and new.
All right. So even though that may be true, that the Ku Klux Klan did meet up on Stone Mountain, I think the question would be why? Why did they choose Stone Mountain? Why do all these people choose this as far as for a meeting of the masses and different things like that? When it comes to these different groups, whether we talk about Boule, whether we talk about Masons, whether we talk about the Ku Klux Klan, there's a reason why they're doing the things that they do. And I think we get caught up in the racist narratives that they have and not understanding their even understanding of what's happening around them and why they're choosing these places for energy. So I pulled up Chat GPT as well, and we'll get deeper into what ley lines are, what were they to our ancestors. But I just put on as far as that Stone Mountain has ley lines, and here's what ChatGPT says about it. Let me try to get this a little bigger. So it says Stone Mountain, located in Georgia, USA, is often mentioned in discussions about ley lines, especially amongst those interested in Earth energy grids, sacred geometry, and alternate geography. Here's the breakdown of this idea. What are ley lines? Ley lines are hypothetical alignments of ancient sites, landmarks, or natural features believed by some to channel the Earth's energy. The concept introduced in 1921 by Alfred Watkins, who suggested that ancient monuments and natural landmarks were intentionally aligned for spiritual and navigational purposes. Modern interpretations often associate ley lines with electromagnetic fields, geomancy, sacred sites, and energy healing. Stone Mountain is not one of the most cited sites in global ley line maps like Giza and Glastonbury, but it does appear some ley line theories, particularly in North American grids. Point of interest: geological prominence. As a massive granite monadnock, Snow Mountain is geophysically unique, making it a focal point of geomantic theories. Energetic significance. Some spiritual and New Age practitioners believe it sits on an intersection of ley lines due to the natural magnetism, the presence of quartz, which is said to amplify energy, and its connection of other American magnolithic and mound sites. Possible connections, as theorized as ley line enthusiasts: the Etowah Indian mounds, the Amoki mounds, the Cahokia mounds, and even Chichen Itza or other points of Mesoamerica via speculative long ley alignments. Local myths and energy work. Some groups conduct rituals, meditations, or energy work at Stone Mountain under the belief it channels and amplifies Earth energy. So we know they're skeptics. But we'll go to the summary. Stone Mountain is not universally recognized in all ley line maps, but among some of the esoteric traditions and geomancers, it is considered an energetic or spiritual node in southeastern U.S. grid. Its unusual geology and regional prominence lend to its mystic that continues to inspire interest beyond mainstream explanations. So when we see people that are outside of us, as far as like you saying, the KKK, um, any kind of these other groups that are Masonic, these Boule groups, and they're going to these said places as far as to galvanize. They are going as far as for the energy there. They're going there because there is this magnetism or what people would so call magic. So when they're going and they're manifesting whatever for good or for evil, they can do these things as far as on these places, and they do believe that these places are adding into what they intended to do. So even if we do see the KKK did go to Stone Mountain, I would say we need to research more and see their reasons of galvanizing there, especially when we can see that along the times where we see these societies and they're having these meetings, they are going to ancient places that our ancestors did galvanize at, and we need to see why they're choosing these places, not just going into, oh, they chose this place as now it's theirs. Now it's a form of racism. Now we're getting into their ancestors. No, because a lot of times they studied our ancestors well. That's why people do go into these Masonic teachings and go to different things to learn about our ancestors, because how deep they were actually going into our old spiritualities as far as to galvanize on this magic that we had and the spirituality that we had. So let's continue.
They've been doing it for over a decade, but this is the question you got to ask. Who the hell are the masters? Because we weren't the masters, we were the slaves. And if you wanted to honor your ancestors who were slaves on this land, then you go to the oldest slave burial grounds in the Southeast, my nigga. What are y'all doing? If you wanted to feel some black energy, some ancient energy, and align yourself with the ancestors, guess where you go? Jamestown, Virginia. Guess where you go? You go to what? It's a cemetery in South Carolina called Boone Hall Plantation. Nothing but black people are buried there. It was black people who was enslaved on this land ever since the 1600s. We're talking to our real ancestors, bro, are buried there. If you want to go and honor your ancestors, you go to Africa Town Cemetery in Mobile, Alabama. That's where you go. You know, they said that the survivors of the Clotilda, the last known slave ship. Now, I don't believe in the transatlantic slave ship trade, but I do know that they were shipping goods back and forth, importing goods from America to Africa, and slaves here would have been one of those goods. They didn't bring slaves from Africa to America. When they came to America, they enslaved the indigenous people here, and you became a product that they shipped all over the world. So they told you everything in reverse.
Now, of course, I had to stop it there. I mean, I'm not going to go into it. I kind of went into it my last live that we can see as far as, and y'all can go back. I pulled up the oldest record they have, or the book that references Cotilda, and it pretty much said that Cotilda is a farce. They made that up completely. So I think that's important when we have these historical talking points or anything. I think that's going to hinder him with his viewpoints and his stance when you don't really know that the history shows that Cotilda is fake. That ain't no real ship that pulled up with anything. That's something that the abolitionist movement made up as far as when it comes to these talking points for whatever reason that they were going and whatever agendas that they had in the time to make up, as far as that this Catilda came down from Africa and came to Mobile, Alabama. They say it was a schooner, but they say it's the largest schooner that ever existed. It had somewhat from 175 to 300 people, but only 25 people were sold. It's just all over the place as far as the story goes. And even when we talk about the Jamestown, um, we need to look into those people, because you're saying that those are our ancestors. Where? Like, you need to know who those people are that they say that got out for those ships. And when we look into those people, we're seeing Europeans. We're not seeing that any kind of slaves came off or anything. We're seeing a servitude, and a lot of the story after their servitude, they gained so much land, so much tobacco. That's something we'll get into in another time. But either way, that these things in the history, when we're not actually looking into what happened, that's connecting us to some falsehoods that our ancestors aren't going to rock with. Those probably aren't even your ancestors when you look down into it. I know my ancestors, they're from Georgia. I have people that actually lived in Stone Mountain, Georgia, and different people around in different places, Savannah, Daisy, Bullock County, different things like that. So I think ultimately, with you not actually going into your genealogy and just focusing on the history, a lot of the talking points that you can put on other people you'll end up falling into, because where your ancestors really connected to, when you're going to random places, random spots that aren't even connected to your ancestors. But I will say, even if you are going to random spots, me personally, I see your spiritual guides are going to lead you wherever. They're going to be there. Now, is it going to be as deep as you, with you not knowing your ancestors' names or anything? Are you going to have the same type of power of someone that really knows? No, I don't think so. But I think your guides are going to be with you wherever you go. That's where we can see this connection even amongst the Christians, where, they're speaking in tongues, dancing, rejoicing. They really feel something. They feel the intact in their spirituality, even though we can say the Bible was used to manipulate our people, to take our people away from who they really are. And we know that to be a fact. But even so, a lot of our ancestors, our grandparents, our great grandparents, they were able to utilize church services to come together and rejoice and manifest good things and blessings amongst the family, pray and meditate on what they wanted to bring towards for their life. And they were able to do that with those things, not because the Bible is right, but because you're tapping into the same energy no matter what.
They didn't bring you here from Africa. You didn't land on Plymouth Rock. Plymouth Rock landed on you, and they started exporting all of the goods of this land for wealth. Because when the colonizer came here, it was new fruits, new vegetables, new animals, and they wanted the seeds of all of this stuff to go and trade it with other countries that didn't have this stuff. And this is how a lot of species spread around the world, with trade. You got animals that don't even supposed to be in certain areas. Did you know that? Don't you know it's hard to find a lion in Asia? See, a lot of these animals didn't get to where they at because of evolution. That's the lie that Darwin and people like Billy Carson see. They going up under the mainstream foundation for their awakening. And see the difference between us and them. We just said, you know what? I'm deleting everything I ever was taught and I'm starting all the way over. And so we got a very solid foundation with the ancestors. They built their foundation on top of Isaac Newton, Galileo, and then they tried to build a black empowerment teaching on top of that, on top of a white supremacist foundation, and it'll never be right. And these people that you see at the gathering of the masses, guess what they know? These people know that they can't go to one of these old ass slave burial sites and have a good vibe. See, this is a spiritual thing. The people that sold out, and they know that they ain't teaching what the ancestors want them to teach. They know they not honoring their ancestors by how? Continuing the message of your ancestors. All of these people act like they love Egypt so much, right? But then they'll turn around and tell y'all that this right here is a solar system. They act like they love their Egyptian ancestors so much, but they don't talk about Nut and Geb. They bring up Isaac Newton.
Okay, so I want to get into, he's right about that you going to the burial sites would be definitely a connection to the ancestors. But I would say it's because of the fact that those burial sites, most of the slaves, Africa Town. All those are going to be written over our actual Aboriginal Indian ancestors' burial grounds. Those are going to be burial grounds that existed there for 500 years, thousands of years, and they just wrote over them and called them colored now, or wrote over them and called them African. So that's why you're going to feel that connection to your ancestors when you go to those places. And I think those people can go to those places and feel the same connection. So I wanted to bring up the creation myths and legends of Creek Indians. Now, I wanted to point out this point first. This is from Bill Grand, the University Press of Florida. Sorry, getting past this preface and the acknowledgments. They start off with this quote. And the quote is from a chief of the Creeks in 1928. It says their medicine has no strength anymore to help them. The Indian has lost all his knowledge, and so their medicine and their pleasure of all are all different now. The life ruler had given them all these things for their use, but they did not take care of them. Their medicine that they have now and their clothing is all different. They wear clothes of the water foam people. Their own dresses are lost. Their own way of thinking has been lost, and they do not know anymore what the old people have taught. And so I think that this fallacy goes along with the narratives that they're giving us, because they're looking at these Native Americans and saying, this is lost. Oh, their medicines are lost. They don't know what to do and all this, but they're not looking at us. They're not looking at our Black culture to see that we still have this same healings that have been taught for thousands of years and passed down through our elders. They still do the same medicine. They still do the same practices. We still have the same culture. They're just looking at the wrong people. And even when the culture has been usurped by these Christian ideologies, by these wrong historical narratives, the spiritual side can't be taken from us. That's what they've been showing through all these years of everything that they've tried to come against us with, that we still are intact, that our culture is still intact. And I think they don't even understand how. So I wanted to go into this as far as, because he is right, as far as the cosmology that our ancestors had before. So here, equally as important as the concept of sacred time is the concept of sacred space. As Eliade states, for a religious man, space is not homogeneous. He experiences interruptions, breaks in it. Some parts of space are qualitatively different from others. The concept of sacred space is of a primarily importance of all religious traditions. For if the world is to be lived in, it must be founded, and no world can be founded in the chaos of profane space. Most cultures, especially non industrialized ones, perceive the world in the terms of themselves or planes: the upper world, the middle world, earth, and the lower world. The sacred space, any space where the sacred manifests itself on earth, can be thought of as an axis mundi, the center of the world. It is the world axis that provides the orientation for the worlds and connects the three planes. This axis provides an opening through the three planes, makes possible communication with the sacred. This world axis may be symbolically represented as a world pillar, and the latter a cosmic mountain, a cosmic tree, and so forth. Iliad provides the sequence of concepts and cosmological images that together constitute what he calls the system of the world. A. A sacred place constitutes a break of the homogeneity of space. B. This break symbolized by an opening by which passage from the cosmic region to another is made possible, from heaven to earth and vice versa, from earth to the underworld. C. Communication with the heaven is expressed by one or another certain images, all of which refer to the axis mundi, world pillar, ladder, cosmic mountain, cosmic tree, cosmic vine, etc. Around the cosmic axis lies the world, hence the axis located in the middle and the navel of the earth in the center of its world. Within the boundaries of sacred space, the profane world is transcended and communication with the gods is made possible. It is a place where the gods can descend to the earth and man can symbolically ascend to the world of the gods. So these are some instances of cosmology as far as of Creek Indians, which we know are from Georgia. So I just want to show that Axis Moon Day, what they're talking about. So we can see it represented here as a tree. We can see the cosmic egg as far as it, which is a lot what even flat earthers actually use when we talk about the earth, the world, as far as the lines that come through it and the spiritualness that we had of our ancestors before things like NASA, things like these other Masonic teachings have come in to take away our cosmology as far as when it comes to our ancestry. Well, when we look at Stone Mountain, we see these same energetic ley lines. We see this same belief of our ancestors of how they would actually communicate through by lifting these veils as far as that come with this physical world on this physical plane and connect into the spiritual or the metaphysical because of these ley lines. So when people are meeting in these particular places that are ancient, that are something that our ancestors would meet in, even if these usurpers, these colonizers came in and they came through these same energy portals as far as to do bad, to do evil, or to colonize, to trick the people. They understood the ancient ways. They understood that there were energy vortexes in these places. That's why they met there. So it's important that we actually take back the information of why these people were using these energy ley lines, why they're using this energy vortex as far as to do what they were doing. And we can take back these places as well because they are ancestral. They are places that we can manifest together in the masses. And I do see as far as why the Bible says something like when three or more gathered in my name. Well, that's just talking about when three or more people are gathered on the same energy, on the same vibration, that things can happen. You can manifest certain things just through this meeting, and especially on these energy ley lines that are going to lift the veil and that are going to allow us to connect in spiritually. So saying that our ancestors are not with us just because we may have pseudo teachings or we may not believe in the historical narrative as we should, that still is not going to hinder the ancestors from even relaying and having certain downloads. And we may even see the change of certain people, the people that are teaching the pseudonisms like the Anunnaki, the aliens, different things like that, that they meet up in these energy vortexes and they get certain downloads that take them to a different plane, take them to different knowledge that they didn't have before because of the fact that our ancestors are at these energy vortexes. They are going to communicate with us at different points and spaces in our life. I know I can speak personally of not being in the correct places, in the correct mindset, but seeing those different numerology, those what they call angel numbers, being like, hey, you're on the wrong path, and your spiritual guides leading you back to the correct path, even if you are out of alignment with your ancestors. There's always a way as far as for them to communicate and try to bring you back into where you need to be. So I think a judgment as far as the people based on what they're teaching, I think, we have to look into things in a deeper manner to see where really people are coming from. And when it comes to, I know he mentioned people using the kind of boule teachings, these things to make money off of the people, to be grifters or scammers or anything like that. I can't speak personally to say I know this particular person is doing that or is not doing that. But what I can say is I know how the ancestors work. I know how karma works. And there's only so long that people can do that before karma's going to hit them. And those points, it for me it's not to judge them, it's just to make sure they know where home is afterwards, because there's only so far you can get on doing things that way. And the ancestors are going to wake you up to that. They're not going to just allow you to continue to grift on or scam the people, especially people that are looking to connect with them. So let me go here. Let's go back. Okay. So, whatever boundaries religious man perceives as his world, whether country, city, village, or house, he has a need to exist in an organized world or cosmos. To, to achieve the organized world, he seeks orientation with the respect to the axis mundi through the ritual provocation of signs indicating the location of a sacred space. Once determined, the axis or center of the world becomes the point of orientation from which the man's sacred place and, in fact, his whole world are constructed. Construction itself, because of the orientation provided by the sacred place, space, then becomes a sacred act and a reenactment of the original world creation. To understand Greek cosmological and mythological beliefs, it is necessary to understand the historical context to which these beliefs developed. The social entity that became known as the Greeks was composed not of culturally homogeneous people, but of groups of people from diverse tribal and linguistic backgrounds. Many of the cultural groups spoke dialects of Muskegon language. Speakers of Muskegee dialect of the Muskegon language included the Mbika, the Kusa, the Koweta, the Kosita, the Haliwahali, the Eufaula, Hilibi, the Wakokai, the Tukabachi, the Okai, the Pakana, and the Seminole. Speakers of the Hichiti dialect of Muskegon language included the Hichiti, the Abalashiokola, Sawok- Sawokli, the Akmogli, the Akoni, Tamali, Chiaha, and the Mikasuki. Speakers of the Alabama dialect of the Muskegon language included the Alabama, the Kosati, the Tawasa, the Powokti, and the Muklasa. The Tuskegee are classified as the only group who spoke Tuskegee dialect of the the Muskegon language. In addition to the people who spoke various dialects of the Muskegon language, there were also the Yuchi, who spoke an unrelated Yuchian language, and the Shawnee, who spoke Algonquian, and many other non-Muskegon speakers. The Yuchi, the Alabama, and the Hittite already occupied the areas that are now Georgia, North Florida, and Alabama when the Muskegees migrated into the region from the west, incorporating many of these groups into their political organization. The term Creek was first used by the English in the late 17th and early 18th centuries. When Western Muskegees intruded upon the settled on lands occupied by the Hittite, some of the oldest inhabitants of the southeast there were referred to the Hittite as Ochis. British traders came to refer to the Muskogee people as the Ochese Creeks because of the settlements along the Ochese Creek or the upper Omogi River. Eventually, these people became known simply as Creeks. After the Yamasee Uprising in 1715, the Ochese Creeks, like other groups, migrated westward, settling towns such as Coweta and Kashita near the Chattahoochee River. The English began calling Muskegees living in the Chattahoochee Lower Creeks, and those Muskegees who had earlier settled on the Coosa and the Tallapoosa above the forks of Alabama, the Upper Creeks. Eventually, all native people, including the Yuchi, the Hittite, the Shawnee, and others living near the Chattahoochee and the Flint rivers, became known as the Lower Creeks, and all those in Alabama, Coosa, and Tallapoosa as the Upper Creeks. Despite the European perception of the people as one, many different linguistics and cultural traditions persisted amongst the Creeks. The fluidity in any mythology and cosmology makes difficult the task of rendering them accurately in words. One problem encountered when attempting to render a belief system in words is that of time. By nature, beliefs are fluid and subject to change. Therefore, any description of a belief system is necessarily temporarily bound. Many aspects of the Creek belief system are centuries, if not millennia, old, while others have changed within the century. One must choose which point in time the description will reflect. Most of the sources referenced in this work are from the 18th, 19th, and early 20th centuries. Therefore, the descriptions provided are here rendered in past tense. This in no way implies that the belief system is extinct. There are those who simply explicitly adhere to Creek beliefs both in Oklahoma and in the Southeast. Culturally, specific concepts and perceptions of another set of difficulties to be considered. In non-Western beliefs, such Western concepts as supernatural are of little use. Because the emanative world of non-Western people, there is nothing supernatural about unseen spiritual beings or plants and animals having souls. These concepts are considered perfectly natural. There are also substantial differences in the concepts of time and space, good and evil, moral and immoral, and so forth. Therefore, every care has been taken to avoid westernizing these concepts as they exist within Creek belief system. When discussing Creek mythology and cosmology, social historical factors must also be considered. First, Muskegees migrated into Southeast, already occupied by cultural groups as the Uchis and the Hittites. Many of those groups were subdued and incorporated into Muskegee's social political system. Second, contact with Europeans greatly reduced southeastern populations through the spread of European diseases to which these populations had no resistance. Populations were further stressed through the loss of hunting and agricultural land. The western expansion of the Europeans then compressed the native populations of the southeast westward forcing the easternmost populations to relocate among the westernmost populations. Eastern towns were relocated among and merged with westernmost towns, enforced and voluntary removals of the Creeks from the southeast and the relocation north, west, and south of their original territory then caused further geographical mixing of cultural groups. The set of historical and social circumstances produced two results with respect to a discussion and understanding of Creek mythology and beliefs. First, many traditions, rituals, beliefs, and mythology of the cultural differing social groups that became the Creeks became communal property. The Uchis, for example, assert that when the Creeks, meaning Muskogee, overran the southeast and incorporated the Uchis into their nation, they also adopted the Uchi annual ceremonies, or busk, almost completely. The Muskegees, however, claimed the independent origin of their ceremonies from spiritual beings. The second result of the historical circumstances that led to the emergence of the Creeks as a social entity is that the early and even recent historical and ethnographic accounts of the people regarded as Creeks often referred to them only as Creek, with little or no regard for their cultural heritage. This assumption of a single heritage has led to much confusion in the literature and seemingly conflicting historical and ethnographical accounts. With regard to an understanding of mythology and beliefs, this assumption has led to many descriptions of the Creeks that actually only collections of mismatched bits and pieces of information, a Yuchi creation myth, a Muskogee folk tale, and the description of the Creek festival, and so on. Many aspects of mythology and beliefs of the Creeks have become lost or confused due to the historical circumstance and the passage of time. Some important information can still be reclaimed from careful comparative study of Creek mythology and beliefs. The reclamation, however, is only possible when as much information as possible about the myths and beliefs is collected in a single source and presented here. Although collections of Creek folk tales that contain some mythology are available, no extensive collection of Creek mythology has ever been compiled. Instead, these stories that describe creations, migrations, and the origins of Creek beliefs and perceptions of the universe are found scattered throughout early ethnographic accounts, traveler reports, missionary reports, and the like. Most scholars regard these stories as purely fictional and therefore of little value in understanding or describing Creek culture, which may account for the minimal academic interest shown in these stories. Even where that Even were that true, the richness of Creek mythology shown in uh, would be reward enough for compiling such a collection. Considered in isolation, as many of these stories are found in published literature, it is sometimes difficult to realize the academic importance of these myths. However, when collected into a single volume, their importance becomes obvious to the discerning scholar. Hey Zay, what's up?
What up, girl? I just was stopping and say, good job. You is running shit over here. I was in the chat listening, so I don't want to interrupt. Everybody else is listening and trying to learn. I just want to stop in and say what's up because you always come through and grace the panel. Okay.
Yes, yes, and I know they'll be going on arguing for some time. I'll be there later. Much
Girl,
respect
no.
to Zay. Zay has been really killing it in the community, really laying down some information. So there's nothing but respect that I have for you, Zay.
Much respect to you, too. You already know how this shit go, man. But go ahead. I don't want to interrupt the whole build. I had the whole thing going on over here. Just stopping in and saying what's up.
Thank you, thank you. So
Yes,
I'm gonna
ma'am.
go down to some of these stories. Give me a second. Okay, let's get it into the Creek cosmology. For the Creeks, like most native North American cultures, there existed three worlds: the upper world, the lower world, and the middle world. The upper world, the world beyond the sky, was the realm of powerful spiritual beings and departed souls. It was permeated with powers of perfection, order, permanence, clarity, and peri- periodicity. The lower world, the world below the earth and the waters, was also perceived as a habitat of many powerful spiritual beings. It was a realm of the powers exactly contrary to those of the upper world: reversals, madness, creativity, fertility, and chaos. The two worlds, permeated with different and opposing forces, should not, however, be thought in a European sense of good and evil, but only as different and opposing. The middle world is the world inhabited by humans, was perceived as the flat plane, the overarched by a solid vault. As described by the Alabamas, the land of the middle world was a square figure entirely surrounded by water, and the sky was material mass that was of a half circular form, whose truncations did not touch the land. The sky was believed to rise and fall at intervals, so that by watching a person could pass under its edge. The stars were perceived as stuck on the underside of the sky, and the galaxy thought uh, of as Poyafiktok and Nini, the spirit's road. The middle world existed in a precarious balance between those powers that structure nature and human life and those that rupture order and empower freedom. Powers of both upper and lower worlds could be called upon by humans, but only without allowing the two to come into contact with each other. Most early recorders of Creek custom mention a great good spirit ruling the upper world. Whether due to the contact of Europeans or for other reasons, the perception of the personified creator amongst the Creeks is misleading or perhaps a late construct. A more appropriate conception of the life giver would be an impersonal, creative, or cosmic force that permeates the universe, neither good nor evil, but the embodiment of the upper world forces perfection, order, permanence, clarity, and pure. Sorry, I'm saying that wrong, but periodicity. The Yuchi centered their ceremonial life around Tao, who could easily have been interpreted as a supreme being or a deity by Europeans, and perhaps had come to the thought as such as among the Yuchi. He was also known as the one who is breath and makes Indians. But these names do not confer Tao the position of the universal or even earthly creator. According to the Yuchi mythology and tradition, before there was an earth, many beings existed in a realm of water and air called the Yubaha, the far heights. Besides those beings already mentioned with respect to Yuchi cosmogony, several seem to have had human form: sun, wind, Wida; the old woman, Wahane; the old man, Johone; iron or metal man, Jahantone or Jayata; the four cardinal points, and the four winds, but apparently none of these ruled the supreme over the others. It was amongst these beings in the realm of the far heights of Tao came to exist. The Yuchi cosmogony, Tao originated from a drop of blood that fell from the sun as she made her first trek among the primordial sky. Raised by a woman amongst the sky beings, Tao was taken to the rainbow, where he participated in certain ceremonies. Though how and why are not clearly understood, Tao and his mother left the sky world for Earth, where he taught the first Yuchi the ceremonies he had undergone at the rainbow in the sky world, and brought to them their medicines. and the button snake root and the red root. After instructing the early Yuchi in their ceremonial life, Tao departed from Earth again with the promise that once a year he would pass overhead to see that they were obeying his instructions and performing the annual ceremonies correctly. Frank Speck's identification of Tao as a supreme being is problematic, since Tao originated from the sun, one of those many beings who took part into the creation of the earth. If Tao or even his mother is the sun, is taken as a supreme being that cannot be identified as the original creator of the beings of the earliest times. Tao should be then understood as an earthly representative of the sky world and the spiritual patriarch of the Yuchi. The Mikasuki identified the creator of the people as Vikaskomichi, breath or life maker, but William Sturtevant describes this being otherwise unimportant. Jean Bossu reports that Alabama called the supreme deity Sobiche, which Swatton suggests is from Salopi for ghost or spirit, and Essa or Isa for to live or dwell. Swatton identifies the supreme being of the Creeks, almost certainly referring to the Muskegee, as Hisagita Imisi, the breath holder. John Pope collected the name of the Sagi Punchesasi from an informant he identifies as the little king of the town of the Broken Arrow, probably one of the oldest known and most commonly used names for the Muskegee personification of the cosmic force of Mbofanaga, or one above us. Older Creeks of the early 20th century asserted the name of the being as it was then known to them as a Sagiti Emisi, the breath holder, was not original term used, but was one that came into being only after contact with the Europeans. This assertion suggests that the Creek perception, or at least their description of the cosmic and creative force, underwent transformation after European contact. The concept of the impersonal cosmic force, neither good nor evil, rather than intervening supreme being of good, negates the possibility of evil counterpart to this being. There are, however, two beings in Yuchi mythology that could at first glance be mistaken for evil counterparts to a supreme being: an evil wizard of obvious worldly origin, an iron monster who is obviously a spiritual being but is not depicted in Yuchi mythology as a counterpart to the supreme being. The evil wizard is encountered in U11. The myth speaks of a time when the sun's movement across the morning sky was impeded. An unknown mysterious being who was on Earth at the time teaching Yuchi's matters of religion sent two men to investigate the cause of the sun's impediment. Upon discovering that it was a wizard who was causing the trouble, the men set about to kill this being by knocking its head off. The unknown mysterious being directed them to the tie of the head onto one of the upper limbs of the tree. But the next morning the wizard still lived. After they repeated the action with several trees, the head was tied onto the limb of the cedar tree and the wizard died. This being, however, is referred to as a wizard, which suggests the world's worldly origin rather than the upper or lower world origin. In two other Yuchi accounts, U13, U14, the Wind, who is seeking his lost sons, encountered the iron monster, who is described as the evil one who has made iron and could not be killed. Knowing that the iron monster has killed his lost sons, the Wind seeks to kill the iron monster and accomplishes it by blowing smoke on him from a pipe fashioned from a bullfrog with a snake for a stem. These myths are rich with symbolism and may offer the closest representation of an evil counterpart to the supreme being that is to be found in Creek mythology. The iron monster, the wind fins, and and lives across a river and offers to ferry the wind across his boat. It is also into the river that the iron monster has cast the wind's dead sons. This water, symbolic of chaos and disorder, is also reminiscent of a mysterious water mentioned in the Alabama mythology, A10 through 15, that must be crossed into in the afterworld. After killing the iron monster and retrieving his lost sons from the water, the wind finds them transformed, though it is not clear into what. The wind decides to stay there in a mysterious water with the prophetic admonishment that someday he will return to the place from whence he came, sweeping across the world and destroying all in its path. Swan suggests that there is a good spirit that inhabits some distant and unknown region where the game of plenty and goods are very cheap, where corn grows all year round and the springs of pure water are never dried up. He also refers to an evil spirit who dwells a great far way off in some dismal swamp, which is full of galling briars, and he is commonly half starved, having no game or bear's oil in all its territory. Swan attributes droughts, floods, famines, and miscarriages in war to an evil spirit. However, when queried, Pope's informant denied the existence of an evil counterpart to the supreme being. Swan is only writer who mentions the existence of an evil spirit, save modern accounts in which Christian influence is obvious. It is likely that Swan's report actually refers to the final disposition of souls, either to a place of plenty and comfort or to one of scarcity and discomfort, rather than referring to good and evil deities. So I wanted to go here too and bring in, what's up, Smoke? Yeah, we're off to see the wizard. So, like, what we're seeing here is really just a representation of our cardinal forces, of our energies, whether it be, the sun and moon, wind, fire, water. It's just all these physical aspects to the world that we have that is being represented through our spiritual nature. So even when we can see these religions that come forth, whether it be Christianity, Islam, or anything that comes from in the future, they all have the basis, in my aspect, in cosmology. They have the basis in these stories, in these ancient thoughts of how the world is created or where it comes from. And then you see, as far as different people distorting that into different narratives, into different books. But the spiritual aspect of it is still there. The spiritual aspect is what we all connect to no matter what we believe in. So I don't think that pseudonisms can stop you from connecting into those spiritual bases. All it can stop is the way in which you manifest things, the way in which you manifest blessings or curses. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna pull in Mexico for a little bit because I want to go into also some of the beings we see and where we can find them in science. So here we are with the Creeks, the significance of the Creek burial practices and the afterlife. The Creeks people, a vibrant Native American tribe with deep rooted traditions, possess a rich tapestry of burial practices that reflect their beliefs about life, death, and the afterlife. Their customs can I pull this? Steeped in history and cultural significance, serve as a poignant reminder of the intricate relationship between the living and the departed. As we delve into the world of Creek burial practices, we uncover not only rituals that define their ceremonies, but also the spiritual beliefs that guide them in the understanding of the existence beyond this life. Throughout the centuries, the Creek burial practices have evolved and shaped by a blend of historical influences and the resilience of their cultural identity. From the origins of their customs to the complex rituals performed at the time of death, each aspect reveals the profound respect to the Creek people hold for their ancestors and the natural world. This exploration will illuminate the ceremonial aspects of these practices and the communal role of honoring the deceased and the symbolic objects that carry deep meanings and ultimately leading us to deeper understanding of their beliefs in afterlife. The Creek Nation, comprised of various tribes of the southeastern United States, has a rich tapestry of cultural practices, particularly evident in their burial customs. These practices not only reflect their beliefs about death and the afterlife, but also encapsulate their history, social structures, and relationships with the environment. Understanding the historical context of Creek burial practices requires a deep dive in their origins, cultural significance, and the evolution of these customs over time. The origins of the Creek burial practices can be traced back to their ancient beliefs and social structures. The Creeks, also known as the Muskegee, initially inhabited regions that are now part of Georgia and Alabama. They are believed in complex spiritual world where the deceased continue to exist in another realm. This belief system was intertwined with the understanding of life, nature, and community. Cremation and interment were both practiced amongst the Creeks, with the specific method often depending on the individual's status, age, and community traditions. The position of the deceased within the community played a crucial role in determining the burial rituals. For instance, chiefs and notable warriors received elaborate burials, often accompanied by ceremonies that involved the community, showcasing their respect and recognition of the individual's contributions to the society. The burial sites themselves were typically chosen with great care, often in locations deemed sacred and significant. These sites were not just placed in interment or were seen as a bridge between the living and spiritual world. The Creeks believed the proper burial practices were essential for ensuring the soul of the deceased could transition peacefully into the afterlife. Failure to perform the rituals correctly could result in an unrest of the spirit, which was a source of the anxiety of the living. In addition to the spiritual beliefs, Creek burial practices were deeply embedded in their cultural identity. They served to strengthen the community bonds, facilitate mourning, and commemorate the lives of the deceased. These practices communicated values such as respect for ancestors, the importance of community, and the interconnectedness of all living beings. As with many indigenous cultures, Creek burial practices have evolved significantly over time, influenced by various factors, including European colonization, cultural exchanges, and societal changes. Initially, the practices were closely tied to their spiritual beliefs and communal identity. However, the arrival of European settlers in the 16th and 17th centuries introduced new ideas and customs that began to permeate the Creek society. One of the most significant transformations in the Creek burial practices came with the introduction of Christianity by European missionaries. Many Creeks adopted Christian beliefs, which altered their understanding of death and the afterlife. This syncretism led to the blending of traditional Creek practices with Christian rituals, creating unique burial customs that reflected this cultural fusion. For example, some Creek families began to incorporate elements of grave markers and Christian prayers into their burial ceremonies while still maintaining traditional rituals. The forced removal of the Creeks from their ancestral lands during the 1830s, known as the Trail of Tears, further impacted their burial practices. The trauma of displacement and the loss of community members necessitated adaptations in how they honored their dead. During this time, The Creeks faced the significant challenges in maintaining their cultural identity, and this was clearly reflected in their burial practices, which sometimes became more individualized due to the scattering of families and communities. In the modern era, Creek burial practices continue to reflect a blend of traditional beliefs and contemporary influences. Many Creek families still adhere to traditional rituals while also embracing modern practices such as the use of funeral homes and burial plots. The significance of honoring the deceased remains a cornerstone in Creek culture, and many families strive to maintain the integrity of their ancestral customs even in the face of modernization. Current practices may include traditional ceremonies held at burial sites, with community members gathering to share stories and celebrate the life of the deceased. These gatherings serve not only as a means of grieving, but also as a reaffirmation of cultural identity and community solidarity. The importance of the burial site itself has also seen as a resurgence, with families often returning to ancestral lands to lay their loved ones to rest. Moreover, the Creek Nation has established various programs and initiatives aimed to preserving and revitalizing their cultural heritage, including burial practices. These efforts reflect a broader movement amongst Native American tribes to reclaim and celebrate their cultural identities in the face of historical injustices and ongoing challenges. In summary, the historical context of Creek burial practices is complex interplay of spirituality, community, and cultural evolution. From their origins steeped in tradition to their adaptations in response to external influences, these practices provide a rich insight into the Creek Nation's resilience and connection to their identity. Understanding this historical background is essential for appreciating the depth and significance of the Creek burial customs as they continue to evolve in contemporary society. So I know that was a lot, and I read a lot as far as it, but I'm hoping that people get as far as what from what I'm reading when we're looking at the meeting of the masters and we're looking at Stone Mountain or we're looking at any other groups of people that come together as Black people, Indians, Aboriginals, FBA, whatever they want to call themselves. We cannot say as far as that they are disconnected from their ancestors. We can see this merge that have of our traditional aspects to what has happened with modern times through all the history, through all the colonization, but our traditions are still steeped within it. Our traditions are still the foundation of everything that we do. So to say that the ancestors are disconnected from that is a farce. It's a fallacy. We definitely have our ancestors with us, even when we call upon Jesus, even when we're coming together on Sundays to be like, hey, or when you're having your holy day because you're Muslim and you're kneeling and praying for all the prayers. Whether your ancestors were Muslim or not, you're tapping into that same traditional aspect and energy. And what you'll find is while you're tapping in, you'll find that those traditions that our ancestors did have are steep below the surface level of the whatever you're practicing. So I would say that we just have to go into depth of really searching to find what these traditions were that we had before. Go into as far as our ancient cosmology to understand different things like flat Earth, like the different parts that people have been trying to hide from us. But whether we have gone into what people have tried to hide from us and we believe certain things, whether you believe in Christopher Columbus or anything like that, Pocahontas, I don't care what you believe in, like you can still tap into that spiritual energy. You just have to tap into it. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'll open up the panel just in case anyone does want to come in and say anything. I think we will have something coming up in the future, like a build where we talk about certain different things, me and Sanchez, of things that are going on, and we can tap more into the spiritual aspect because a lot of what he's saying is correct. as far as what the ancients did believe as far as their cosmology. But I would say I disagree with him saying as far as that people cannot tap into different things as far as what their ancestors were doing, even if they're a little off as far as what their ancestors did. Let me, while people are deciding, I did want to show this. I want to go into it a little deeper later, but for all that are familiar with Lady Guadalupe, see her here. So I wanted to show this. So they call this TON 618. I'm not going to even attempt to say Lady Guadalupe's real name. Y'all just going to have to charge it to the game. TON 618 is a luminous broad absorption line, radio loud quasar, and Lemon Alpha Plov located near the border of constellations Canes Venicidi and Como Berenices, with the projected commoving distant of approximately 18.2 billion light years from Earth. It possesses one of the most massive black holes ever found, roughly 40 billion millennia. As quasars were not recognized until 1963, the nature of this object is unknown when it's first noted in 1957. Survey of faint blue stars, mainly white dwarfs that lie away from the plane of the Milky Way. On photographic plates taken within zero point 0.7 mid-Smith telescope at the observatory in Mexico. It appeared decidedly violet and was listed by the Mexican astronomers Brulio Irritart and Enrique Chavira as entry number 618 in the catalog. In 1970, a radio survey of Bologna in Italy discovered radio emissions from Ton 618, indicating it was a quasar. As a quasar, Ton 16 is believed to be an active galactic nucleus at the center of the galaxy, the engine of which the supermassive black hole feeding intensely on hot gas and matter as excretion disk, giving its observed redshift of 2.219. The light travel time of Ton 618 is estimated to be approximately 10.8 billion years. Due to the brilliance of the central quasar, the surrounding galaxy is outshone by its hint not visible from Earth. So I wanted to show that because this is happening currently among science, where they're saying that they may have been wrong about the Big Bang Theory. But where my belief is that our ancients already knew that they were wrong about the Big Bang Theory, and where we have Lady Guadalupe as a representation as above, so is below. So when we see this, what if the Big Bang wasn't the beginning? Our research suggests it may have been taking place inside of a black hole. Professor Enrique Gonstanaga from the Institute of Cosmology and Gravitation writes for the conversation. Sorry, that's small. The Big Bang is often described as an explosive birth of the universe, a singular moment when space, time, and matter sprang into existence. But what if this was not the beginning at all? What if our universe emerged from something else, something more familiar and radical at the same time? In a new paper published by the Physical Review D, my colleagues and I propose a striking alternative. Our calculations suggest the Big Bang was not the start of everything, but rather the outcome of a gravitational crunch or collapse that formed a very massive black hole, followed by a pounce inside of it. This idea, which we call the black hole universe, offers a radically different view of cosmic origins, yet it is grounded entirely in known physics and observations. Today's standard cosmological model, based on the Big Bang and cosmic inflation, the idea that the early universe rapidly blew up in size, has been remarkably successful in explaining the structure and evolution of the universe, but it comes as a price. It leaves us some of the most fundamental questions unanswered. For one, the Big Bang model begins within a singularity, a point of infinite density where the laws of physics break down. This is not just a typical glitch, it's a deep theoretical problem that suggests we don't really understand the beginning at all. To explain the universe's large scale structure, physicists introduced a brief phase of rapid expansion into an early universe called cosmic inflation, powered by an unknown field with strange properties, later to explain the acceleration expanding observed today. They added another mysterious component, dark energy. In short, the standard model of cosmology works well, but only by introducing new ingredients we have never observed directly. Meanwhile, the most basic questions remain open. Where did everything come from? Why did it begin this way? And why is the universe so flat, smooth, and large? The new model. Our new model tackles these questions from a different angle by looking inward instead of outward. Instead of starting with the expanding universe and trying to trace back how it began, we consider what happens when an overly dense collection of matter collapses under gravity. This is a familiar process. Stars collapse into black holes, which are among the most well understood objects in physics. But what happens inside the black hole beyond event horizon from which nothing can escape, it remains a mystery. In 1965, the British physicist Roger Penrose proved that under very general conditions, gravitational collapse must lead to a singularity. This result, extended by the late British physicist Stephen Hawking and others, underpins the idea of that singularities, like one at the Big Bang, are unavoidable. The idea helped win Penrose a share of the 2020 Nobel Prize in Physics and inspired Hawking's global bestseller, A Brief History from Time, from Big Bang to Black Holes. But there's a caveat. These uh, singularity theorems rely on classical physics, which describes ordinary macroscopic objects. If we include the effects of quantum mechanics, which rules the tiny microcosmos of atoms and particles, as we must at extreme densities, the story may change. In our new paper, we show the gravitational collapse does not have to end in a singularity. We find an exact analytical solution, a mathematical result with no approximations. Our math showed that we approach the potential singularity, the size of the universe changes as a hyperbolic function of cosmic time. This simple mathematic solution describes how a collapsing cloud of matter can reach a high density state, then bounce, rebounding outward into a new expanding phase. But how come Penrose theorems forbid out such outcomes? It's all down to the rule called the quantum inclusion principle, which states that no two identical particles, known as fermions, can occupy the same quantum state, such as the angular momentum or spin. And we show that this rule prevents the particles in collapsing matter from being squeezed indefinitely. As a result, the collapse halts and reverses. The bounce is not possible. It's inevitable under the right conditions. Crucially, this bounce occurs entirely within the framework of general relativity, which applies at the large scale, such as stars and galaxies combined, and the basic principles of quantum mechanics. No exotic fields, extra dimensions, or speculative physics required. What emerges on the other side of the bounce is a universe remarkably like our own. Even more surprisingly, the rebound naturally produces the two separate phases of accelerated expansion, inflation, and dark energy, driven not by hypothetical fields, but by physics of the bounce itself. One of the strengths of this model is that it makes testable predictions. It predicts a small but non-zero amount of positive spatial curvature, meaning the universe is not exactly flat but slightly curved like the surface of the earth. This is simply a relic of the initial small overdensity that triggered the collapse. If further observations, such as the ongoing Euclid mission, confirm a small positive curvature, it would be a strong hint that our universe indeed emerged from such a bounce. It also makes predictions about the current universe's rate of expansion, and something that has already been verified. This model does more than fix technical problems with standard cosmology. It could also shed new light on other deep mysteries in our understanding of the early universe, such as the origin of supermassive black holes, the nature of dark matter, or the hierarchical formation and evolution of the galaxies. The black hole universe also offers a new perspective on our place in the cosmos. In this framework, our entire observable universe lies inside the interior of a black hole, formed in some larger parent universe. We are not special no more than Earth was in the geocentric worldview that led Galileo, the astronomer who suggested the Earth revolves around the sun in the 16th and 17th centuries, to be placed under house arrest. We are not witnessing the birth of everything from nothing, but rather a continuation of a cosmic cycle, one shaped by gravity, quantum mechanics, and the deep interconnections between them. So I just wanted to show that, because when you see it, Lady Guadalupe and her as a constellation, her position in between the constellation is that black hole, and they are starting to think as far as that we live inside that black hole. So it's just showing that our ancestors had a greater knowledge of even the science that's going on around us, and we could actually look into their cosmology to kind of answer our questions when it comes to science, the Big Bang Theory, and all these different theories that they've introduced to us. Our ancestors were already studying all this, and they have much greater aspects of understanding of this universe and how it came about. All right, so I just wanted to be short and sweet today. I didn't want to be too long. Thank you guys for all coming out. I want to thank What's Up. Much love to you, Big Dog Philly OG, Enoch. What's up, Mike? Hey, Carrie Bay. Peace, Big Des. First Eye Beat. Smoke Signal. Live and Learn. First Eye. Salute to all of you. Peace, beautiful goddess. Alpha Empress. Thank you, Zay, for coming up. Indigenous Minds. The beautiful Ariana Nicole. Joe 47. Epic Studies. Salute to you guys. And engine number 9, and I think I did say epic studies. Peace all. Thank you guys for coming through. I do hope to have some more coming up. I'm going to have a bill with Sanchez, and I do want to bring on Judge Joe Brown. I see that the 14th Amendment is just such a hot topic right now and people's understanding of what it really is. So I think we definitely should get him on to kind of break down what's happening on with Trump and what's happening with the big, beautiful bill as well. But that'll be coming up in the future. Thank you guys for all tuning in today. And you guys have a lovely Sunday. I wish you all nothing but peace, blessings, harmony. Till the next time. Peace and love, you guys.